Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. This is a big one. We are 2 months away from Star Wars Skeleton Crew, the John Watts and Chris Ford Mandalorian spin-off, and we have some big character leaks from upcoming merch. The names of 2 new characters have been unveiled, and one of them tells us quite a bit about the character Neil. With every Star Wars show generally comes Funko Pops, action figures, and in more recent times, mystery bag clips. We had them for the Bad Batch, and now we've got them for Skeleton Crew. And in the last 24 hours, someone leaked all of the names. Most of these we know. Jod Narnarwood is the Jedi that Jude Law is playing. Then we've got the Shistavanen pirate captain, the Wolf guy, and then we have the kids, which we know, Neil, KB, Wim and Firm. And then we've got a couple of interesting ones. The Owl character from the trailer, and now they've got a name, Kim. And as fans pointed out, Disney absolutely loves its owls, and with a family-friendly, kid-friendly show like Skeleton Crew, it was only a matter of time until a sentient, anthropomorphic one made its way into live-action Disney Star Wars. We've had owl-like creatures before, but this one is more reminiscent of Archimedes from The Sword in the Stone, or maybe even Owl from Winnie the Pooh. He might have a similar archetype. Wisdom, knowledge and guidance, this time in the Star Wars underworld. The unknown planets the kids find themselves lost in, where they're gonna have to deal with pirates, scoundrels, and smugglers. And while Jude Law's character has been marketed as a teacher and guide, it's been implied in interviews we might not be able to trust him, or really fully understand his motivations. He is a Jedi, and this was confirmed in the most recent press release for the show, but they said he's a type of Jedi we've never met. My theory is that he's a survivor of Order 66. But instead of trying to rebuild the Jedi Order, he went into full survival mode, went incognito, and made a name for himself as a scoundrel, only using his Force powers when absolutely necessary, like breaking out of prison, but staying under the Empire's radar. We might meet him in the show during a time period where he's lost a lot of his Force abilities. But did they make this character a Jedi to connect him to some others we know? Could he eventually meet up with Luke? Or is he maybe demonstrating attributes of someone who's turned to the dark side? If we can't trust his intentions, the implications could be widespread. As for the second new character revealed in this merch leak, it's a character of the same species as Neil. Her name is Jorka, and in my estimation, she is either Neil's mum or his younger sister. Now, based on her design, as well as an examination of Neil's facial features and the details on the upcoming Funko Pop, like I said in a previous video, I no longer believe he's an Ortolan, the same species as Max Rebo. Neil and Jorka either belong to a brand new species we've never seen before, or they're Andravens from Young Jedi Adventures, which their ears, hair, and snout seem to suggest. I'm pretty surprised we're going to see 2 Neils in the show. I would have assumed his character was something of a novelty. It's kind of like having 2 Grogus in the same show. But maybe we're going to see the entirety of Neil's family. Maybe Jorka's gonna try and find him when Neil and his friends go missing and go on their adventure. Jorka might be a character that grounds the plots to this galaxy, so we see both what's going on with the kids lost in space and what's going on back home. Or maybe she's just another character from the kids' school. I'm very curious to learn more about the aliens in this show. I think we're in for something fun. I know at the moment there isn't too much hype and excitement about Skeleton Crew, but it might be a nice palate cleanser. And as for when we can expect the final trailer, that could be any day now. Although, to be honest, I wouldn't expect anything until the end of the month or the first week of November. What do you make of this? In some other Star Wars updates, there is a brand new article published by The Hollywood Reporter, and it's been causing quite a stir, quite a good amount of noise in online fan spaces. It's titled, "Is Disney Bad at Star Wars? An Analysis. High Budgets, Scrapped Projects, Fan Backlash." It's been 12 years since Disney bought Star Wars, and its galaxy far, far away arguably has too many broken toys. There's an exchange in Star Wars The Force Awakens, when Rey and Finn are fleeing from stormtroopers and searching for a way to escape. Rey spots the legendary Millennium Falcon, declares it looks like garbage, and then quickly reconsiders. The garbage will do. Increasingly, that's the attitude some fans have about Disney Star Wars programming. The opinion often goes like this: look, we all know this isn't fantastic anymore, but Star Wars is still Star Wars, and therefore, it will do. Now, before we go on, there are projects that fit this criteria. Skeleton Crew is probably one of them. From interviews and comments made by the creatives and the trailer, it seems pretty benign. But with some of the shows that were deemed more important, that didn't really hit the mark. This attitude is counterproductive and doesn't do the Star Wars name justice. It's the same thing when people say all Star Wars is good Star Wars. Well, that might be your opinion, but it's acceptable to say the franchise deserves better. They say, to be fair, Disney's Star Wars shows and movies remain far from space junk. Their titles typically get glowing reviews from critics and generate box office returns and streaming ratings that other studios would envy, though at a high cost. I feel like this is true for Andor and The Mandalorian, but Star Wars has a history of fans not really agreeing with critics, especially those that have a vested interest in staying on a studio's good side, freebies, handouts, early access, those kind of things. We often see glowing reviews of shows that fans didn't like from outlets that don't want to lose their privileges. So then they say, let's run through Disney Star Wars' legacy to date, from The Force Awakens to The Acolyte, and see what conclusions might be drawn, because several aspects of the company's track record admittedly look shaky. We're not going to go through everything, I'm just going to summarize the meat and potatoes. So for the sequel trilogy, the approach was let the past die, kill it if you have to. It's just a summary of things we already know, talking about the positive reception of films like The Force Awakens and Rogue One, versus box office flops like Solo, and then how badly received The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker were. But moving on to the TV shows, they talk about the decision to make The Mandalorian Season 4 a movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, instead of a TV show. Could this be a glimmer of hope? Then they go through the other shows, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, and it's a tale of either fans being disappointed, or in the case of Andor, viewership not being great, despite the show being highly acclaimed. So then we come on to The Acolyte. Premiere ratings were the lowest to date for a live-action Star Wars series. Then the show's ratings sunk further, with The Acolyte dropping out of the Nielsen top 10 entirely for several weeks. It was impossible for Disney to spin this one as a concluded story, but The Acolyte is not getting a season 2. So looking ahead, they say we have hope. Rebellions are built on hope. The upcoming films, but in 2 months' time, Skeleton Crew. So the reason I skimmed through all of that is we need to get to the juicy part. Where does Star Wars go from here? They say hanging over all of this is the increasing suspicion that the company may have wrung out the rag, creatively speaking, on storylines culled from Lucas's original trilogy and his prequels. This isn't entirely Disney's fault, but it's one of the challenges moving forward. How do you make Star Wars feel fresh and new while still feeling like Star Wars? I don't think fans are as adverse to new stories as these kind of outlets like to think. We don't just want repeated fan service, we want good characters and a well-written story, that's it. I know it sounds repetitive, but that is the crux of it. And their assessment is this: is Disney bad at Star Wars? On balance, no. Disney gave Star Wars fans what they wanted for decades. A lot more Star Wars, from different visionary filmmakers, and some of it's been terrific. On this last bit, I guess I do agree, some of it has been terrific. Rogue One and or The Mandalorian's first 2 seasons, Tales of the Jedi was great, The Clone Wars Season 7, The Bad Batch. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars Rebels, which just turned 10 years old, but overall, it's also had some of the worst aspects. So I'll turn it over to you guys. Do you think Disney is bad at Star Wars? Let me know in the comments down below and share your thoughts on all of today's news. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.